It's official. Brandon Aiyuk has requested a trade from the San Francisco 49ers. What does it mean for the Niners? What does it mean for Aiyuk? And is Brandon Aiyuk actually going anywhere? All that and more coming up on today's Locked On 49ers.
You are Locked On 49ers, your daily San Francisco 49ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On 49ers. Brian Peacock and Eric Crocker with you as always at BD Peacock at Crocky209. Thanks everybody for making us your first listen on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We love our everydayers and we love it when you hit that subscribe button. Most of our daily listeners even are not subscribed to the podcast. And so we'd like to change that. Hit that subscribe button on YouTube or wherever you listen to this podcast. Today's episode of Locked On 49ers is brought to you by FanDuel, America's number one sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. And this summer, all customers are getting a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Just visit FanDuel.com to get started. All right. It happened. To be honest, it happened months later than I thought, guys. Brandon Aiyuk has now officially requested a trade, according to Mike Garafolo. That the trade request comes after months of not being able to come together with a deal with the San Francisco 49ers, according to Garafolo's sources. All-pro wide receiver Brandon Aiyuk has officially requested a trade after an offseason of unsuccessful attempts to reach an extension. Despite a recent meeting, the Niners haven't been willing to engage in negotiations since May, so Aiyuk has respectfully asked out. What do you think, guys? Brandon Aiyuk now officially requesting a trade away from the San Francisco 49ers as we are a week away from players reporting to training camp.
Well, first I have a question. What does it mean to respectfully request a trade? Like, do you just ask for it in a nice way? Is it like I'm not disgruntled? Or I guess what are the two ways? Is one way, man, F y'all, trade me. Y'all don't want to disrespectful. Me. Or is it, hey, clearly we can't get on the same page. I will respectfully ask you guys let me part ways with you.
Do you remember Half Baked, where that one dude quits his job and he's like, "Yeah,
you're cool.
F you, I'm out." That would be the disrespectful way to request out of your current employment. But for Brandon Aiyuk, respectfully, apparently is the way he did it. By the way, did we even introduce our weekly guest, Nicholas Winkler? I'm so used to Wink just joining us on Wednesdays that I think everybody knows the story and knows what's going on. But Nick Winkler, my former radio colleague, the voice of the fan, as he is sometimes known, our weekly guest here on Wednesdays, Winky Wednesdays, as they are known. And we got to do the sounder for Wink to bring him in and drop his opinions on the Brandon Aiyuk trade.
Nicholas Winkler, come on down.
Nick, what do you think about Brandon Aiyuk requesting a trade from the San Francisco 49ers?
Can't believe it. Yeah, man, I'm shocked. I mean, come on. We all saw this coming, right? This is just 101 when it comes to wanting to get paid. You're in that final year of your rookie contract. You want the money. I mean, Debo did it a lot earlier, right? He did it in like April or something. So I think Aiyuk kind of switched it up a little bit and was hoping to come to a deal before then. And now he hasn't gotten it. Like you said, we're a week away from training camp started. He's probably like, okay, this is kind of my last play that I've got here. I could just say I want to trade. I guess he's got one more after that, right? He just doesn't show up again to training camp. Hasn't he already gotten a ton of fines for like $40,000 or something?
Yeah, the rules, I can't remember exactly how the rules go, but since it's the same as Bosa last year, essentially, if you are a veteran or you are a rookie that's on a deal that's not the fifth-year option, I think you get fined no matter what, and the league took it out of the team's hands, so you're automatically fined. Now, on the fifth-year option, there is a little loophole where the team can decide not to fine you or waive those fines. And even though the league automatically does it, the team can then waive it, which the 49ers did for Bosa last year. And I would assume the 49ers would do that for Brandon Aiyuk. So it makes the holdout on a fifth-year option for those players a lot easier. But once it comes to the season, You don't get a game check. If you're holding out, you don't get paid for your games, which is the big money.
Right. And when it came to Bosa, they signed him to a deal and then waived those fees, right? So what happens with Brandon Aiyuk if we get ready to go in the season and then he shows up playing on this 5th-year deal? Do the 49ers waive that? Or they're just like, okay, cool. We've been expecting you. They still have 2 more franchise tags, right? After this. Like, don't they just – I feel like Aiyuk doesn't have a whole lot to do right now. He doesn't have a whole lot behind what he's trying to accomplish. I respect it. I respect that he's trying to get paid. But at the same time, I feel like, I don't know if the 49ers will waive this if he just then shows up once it's time to start the regular season.
The 49ers have all the leverage. And we don't see teams very often these days flex that leverage as much as teams in years past.
Sure.
And so it's kind of a new era in the NFL. And I'm sure the 49ers want to do right by Aiyuk, which is why they would waive all the fines once he finally does sign and gets into camp.
Or I thought with the new CBA, they can't waive fines.
They can for 5th-year option.
Okay.
Yeah, so the situation that Bosa was in last year, the situation that Aiyuk is in this year, the team can waive the fines on players not showing up to training camp. And so, but the 49ers, clearly, according to Adam Schefter, are not willing to budge on what they think the valuation is. So according to Schefter, he said the 49ers have wanted Brandon Aiyuk back, and they've intended to bring him back. The wide receiver market has shifted, though, and so it makes it tough. It's actually harder to get a deal done now than it was a couple months ago. That was Adam Schefter on with Pat McAfee, and then Schefter tweeting today that other teams that have reached out and spoken to San Francisco have been told that the 49ers have no intention of trading disgruntled wide receiver Brandon Aiyuk, who officially has requested a trade. 49ers open training camp next week. And so at this point, the 49ers are like, look, you have one offer. It's from us, and that's the offer.
So there are people, Nick said it, I tweeted it out, saw this coming, right?
Yeah.
And I think the big thing is, why did we see it coming? And it wasn't just, hey, somebody that wants a new contract, eventually he'll just request a trade. For me, it was, I didn't quite see an avenue where they meet what Brandon Aiyuk is looking for. So that's why I saw it coming. And because of that, and what you just said about what Adam Schefter tweeted out, how do you see this playing out? And if the 49ers, how long do you play this game? I actually don't think 49er fans, of course, they're upset with Brandon Aiyuk, and they're like, oh, just get him out of here. But I'm on his side. And it's because of what I've been saying for the last couple months. People keep saying, Croc, you keep talking about this, this Brandon Aiyuk usage. I'm like, well, it's a major play in this bigger part of what's going on. They never intend on utilizing him the same way the other guys that are getting paid big bucks. They don't plan to use him that way. And because of that, and he's someone that feels like, hey, I have all this ability that, second in the league in yards per reception, 30th in targets, but 6th in yards. Like, I have this, I can win one-on-one. I can win versus zone. Like, look at the route tree according to Matt Harmon. Like, it's lit up like a Christmas tree, all green. I'm doing all these things. Y'all don't want to use me any more than how you already utilize me. And for a good point, if you're the 49ers, you have a ton of weapons. But at what point do you guys see how this situation financially, or from a business standpoint, doesn't quite benefit me? So if we're going to continue to have this stalemate because y'all are just going to do what you continue to do, which has led to you having one of the most efficient offenses in the league, and it works. It has resulted in multiple conference championship appearances, Super Bowl appearance. It's done all those things. It can't be disputed. But for me personally, this is not what's best for me, even though I've only done what you guys have asked me to do. You want me to block 40 yards downfield? I'm doing that to the best of my ability. I'm one of the best in the league at doing it. You want me to not worry about only, some games I might get 8 targets. Other games I might only get 2 or 3 targets. I don't complain. I go out. I do my job. But now you guys are using my selflessness against me in negotiation tactics, and it's costing me money. Now I'm upset. And from that standpoint, I'm on his side. If you want to say, Brandon, we love everything that you are, and even though we may target you 8 times in the game or we may target you 3, we're still going to pay you what you bring to the table, then cool. then it's going to be close to 30. Not asking for Justin Jefferson, $34 million a year or whatever, CeeDee Lamb. I'm not asking for that. But let me get that next tier amount of money because that's what I bring to the table. But if you're not willing to pay me that, then yeah, we're going to have issues because you're trying to pay me based on what my projection has been, even though in another system, it would be more. I would get more targets. I'd be featured more. I'd have more opportunities, which would result in more money. And he's not getting that opportunity with the 49ers. So I understand why they're at the stalemate that they are. And I understand both sides for not budging off of it. I just don't know how you end up fixing this situation. It's different than Debo. It's different than Nick Bosa. It's different from a lot of those other guys' contract negotiations and situations.
Yeah, I mean, everything you just said is correct. I mean, you can't really argue with anything Croc's saying right now. The only part of it is that the 49ers he's under contract this year, and then they have the ability to put the tag on him 2 more times. And that would really significantly increase how much money he's going to make, but for 1 year, right? And then for maybe a second year. So he could make a lot of money still, but I get it. He's trying to get that long-term, that big money deal with the 50 or 60 million guaranteed, right? Where he's set for life. And you don't blame Brandon Aiyuk for doing that. But at the end of the day, the fans, they love Aiyuk, but they love the 49ers more than they love Brandon Aiyuk, right? So it's like you want the guy to show up. You want him to be there. And so you can understand the frustration of the fan who's like, just go, you're $14 million, man. Like, I don't want to hear it. That's so much money. But I get it. I get it from both sides. It's a really tough spot to be in as a 49er fan, the 49er organization, and of course, most of all, for Brandon Aiyuk, because he does feel, and he probably is, worth a lot more money than what's on the table right now from the 49ers.
All right, so much to unpack here, Croc. I think 99% of what you said I agree with. I'm going to push back on a little something as it pertains to Brandon Aiyuk. Clearly, I've talked about it. How the sausage is made, it's hard to see sometimes for the players, sometimes for the fans, sometimes for the media, although the media likes to feast on that as well. Don't hate the player, hate the game. The Niners are doing right for the Niners. Brandon Aiyuk trying to do right for himself, and I'm not going to fault either party right now for the stance that they have on how this negotiation is currently going. How it has been played, I do have some problems with, and I'm going to tell you guys this. Brandon Aiyuk requesting a trade is actually a good sign that this contract is actually going to get done sooner rather than later. And I'll tell you why next. Today's episode of Locked On 49ers is brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Look, we love sports. Croc loves sports. Wink loves sports. It's why we're all here. It's why you're listening to this podcast. We love them so much, we never want them to stop. But as we get to this portion of the calendar, it's one of the few days around the All-Star break that there's not a game at all. There's no baseball games. There's no basketball games. You got the soccer tournament that's happening right now, and you can also bet on all of that at FanDuel. But you know what you can do is you can open up the app and dream up any bets you want on the 2024 NFL season at FanDuel. So FanDuel lets you keep it going anytime you want with your sports fix, like a prop bet for Brandon Aiyuk over under 1,000.5 receiving yards this season. I would smash the over personally, no matter what team he's playing on. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Okay, there's so much here. First of all, Croc, what you said about being on Brandon Aiyuk's side and getting paid what he feels like he's worth. I agree with you there. I will say, though, with how the 49ers have leverage on Brandon Aiyuk and what the rules are, the 49ers are helping Brandon Aiyuk even at whatever their offer is, because it's more than what Brandon Aiyuk will get under the current contract that he signed, that he is under for the 5th-year option, then 2 franchise tags potentially. And I don't think the 49ers want to go there, but the 49ers could do that, and Brandon Aiyuk would get less than whatever the 49ers current offer, whenever that last offer was, reportedly May. Brandon Aiyuk gets more because of the 49ers low offer, right? So Brandon Aiyuk wants the most money. He wants free agent money without becoming a free agent. So that to me is not unrealistic to ask for it, but I don't think you're guaranteed to say, hey, look, I want everything. I want to stay here. I want to be on the best team. I want to win Super Bowls. And I want to get the most money that I would have to play hardball with and end up being a free agent to normally get. That's just the game. That's the game as it is set. Those are the rules of the game. You can't say, hey, it's 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter and we're leading. What do you say we call it a game? It's over, right? Might as well. I want to win this game and I want to go home. I'm done. And it's like, no, there's time on the clock. You got to finish the game. There's rules to the game. And right now, the 49ers have a huge amount of leverage with the rules. And Brandon Aiyuk, while I get why he's asking and wants that, it's not something where it's like he should necessarily for sure get that without having to go through all of the stuff we're going through right now. It is a negotiation for a reason.
I think that he actually is asking for less than he would get as a free agent. If you look at the receivers and who's being signed right now, they're being signed by their teams for the most part. Now, there are the one-off situation. I don't even say one-off, but you've seen the other side of it. Devontae Adams traded, gets paid by the Raiders, or AJ Brown traded to Philadelphia, gets paid by Philly, right? Mm. And he continues to get paid by Philly. So I know some people are like, hey, you'll end up being Devontae Adams and Raiders. You better be happy with the 49ers giving you. And it's like, well, we have seen the other side as well. AJ Brown, like, he's pretty damn happy. I think he's happier in Philly than he would be in Tennessee. And now they've paid him, they redid his contract. Like, he was making a lot of money. And then they're like, all right, let's give you more money, right? So these are guys that aren't hitting free agency. He just wants, and I'm listening to him on the pivot, he wants money to where he feels like he's slotted. I'm not asking for Justin Jefferson money. I'm not asking for Tyreek Hill money. I'm not asking for the top dog money. But I do believe that I should be getting more than what you're offering me right now. And those teams are being offered these contracts by their team. Tyreek Hill, eventually he was traded. I mean, some of these guys are getting traded. So there's that part of it too. Tyreek Hill got traded, got paid by the Miami Dolphins. But some of these guys, it's the team that they're currently on, and they're re-signing them and giving them big money. They're actually not hitting free agency unless we are saying that being traded is kind of like being traded and negotiating a contract prior to it is kind of a form of a new day and age free agency, maybe.
It is. Trade.
Yeah, this is something we talked about with Deebo Samuel too. And this is why the trade request to me comes at an odd time, because I thought they would have done the trade request before the draft, when it's a lot easier to get a trade done, when it would have made sense for the 49ers if they were willing to listen to offers to do a trade before the draft to figure out their draft plan. And essentially, if you tell the agent, hey, agent, you can go find a trade for your client. He's a free agent now, because now he can get offers from every team in the NFL. So that is sort of no free agency, because you can talk to every team. The agent cannot get an offer from another football team right now. So there's still compensation involved, like that has to go to the 49ers. So I do get the point of stopping them. I mean, we're talking about DeForest Buckner situation all over again. And that's really, this feels more like that than it does the Bosa or Deebo. It feels more like the Buckner situation, where whatever number they threw out to Buckner and was like, we're not moving off of this, but if you feel like you can get more elsewhere and we can get a first round pick in return, then albeit go find it. This feels like that. And they haven't gotten to that point. Clearly, the Patriots and other teams have asked, like, what's going on with Brandon Aiyuk? We're not trading them. But maybe now it kind of gets to that point, because it's very clear we're not going to get to the same number. The timing is off, though. The 49ers knew what pick. When the Colts came and like, hey, we'll give you a first. It wasn't just a random first. It was the 13th overall pick.
So let me push back on the timing is off because he's asking a week before camp, right, for a trade. Of course he wants to trade because if he gets traded to a new team, even if he has to play on that final 5th-year contract, they can't franchise tag him. So then he will become a free agent or work out a new deal with this new team, right? And we're just starting training camp. What if week 1, some star wide receiver goes down, all of a sudden, we need a star wide receiver. Then they call the 49ers and the 49ers are like, okay, now we can actually get something for this guy who's holding out right now. Like, I get why you would do it before the draft. Of course, you want to set up for the draft. But now it seems like either you do it way before or right now it seems like the next logical spot because now if another team is desperate, they're going to give up a whole lot for a guy to a football team that, let's not forget, just drafted 2 wide receivers and 1 in the first round. So they've kind of planned for this. They kind of have a safety net in place just in case.
That's the big part of it. I think for the 49ers, if they were saying, if they're playing hardball with what they want in return, and then ultimately they do net a first, even if they don't know where that first is, they kind of won this because, like, well, we did draft a receiver in the first round. Yeah. So, yes, we'll be losing Aiyuk, but it's not like, oh, we lose Aiyuk. What the hell do we do now? It's like we lose Aiyuk. Yes, Kyle Shanahan hates playing rookie receivers and rookies in general, but we do have a guy who we like, and all right, let's get him up to speed. And you're not alone. You got Deebo Samuel. You have George Kittle. You have Christian McCaffrey. The offense still runs through those guys. You have Kyle Shanahan making plays. We can ease you into the situation, just get better as the year goes on. So if there's any team that's suited, right, to handle this isn't the Dallas Cowboys, where if the Cowboys right now got into the same situation with CeeDee Lamb and it's like, all right, let's trade CeeDee Lamb for a first-round pick. It's like, well, who the hell are we going to throw the ball to? Like, who's going to be the offense? 49ers are at least able to kind of carry the brunt of the impact of this trade if it were to happen. But the timing is off just in the sense of you don't know what that pick is, as opposed to the DeForest Buckner situation. You knew exactly what it was.
And that helped DeForest Buckner get paid because he could talk to any team about money instead of one team about money. And that's why I say when you allow a player to request to find their own trade, you're allowing them to get offers from
you think the 49ers do that, Peacock?
I think there's zero chance the 49ers do that.
Why not?
Because they have all the leverage.
Well, here's the thing, and this is one of the other pushbacks I
had. They would still have the leverage, though. They would still have, like, ultimately, because if it's something that they don't like the Buckner trade happened because they liked what was coming back.
Right.
So you still hold the leverage. If they didn't like it, like, Buckner, you're not going anywhere.
But the thing was, it's like, okay, Buckner, if you can find that deal. So if they open that up to Aiyuk and someone says, okay, we'll give Aiyuk $32 million, then the 49ers are like, oh, crap. They were really much. You know what I mean? Because we only offered, and he was only, so that's kind of the thing with free agency. That's how you get the most money, is you get multiple teams bidding on it. And Brandon Aiyuk will find more money than the 49ers are offering if they allow him to talk to other teams. And the 49ers, if they want to keep Brandon Aiyuk and sign him, don't want his agent to get that offer from another team.
If you never intend on giving him big bucks, why would you not try to see if there's a highest bidder that's going to pay him what he wants? Like, if it's like, Brandon, yeah, we love you and we're great with you and all that, we never intend to give you $30 million. Why would you not trade him to a team that's willing to give him $30 million and give you a first?
That's my next big question for you.
Because you still have 3 years of a discount of Brandon Aiyuk, essentially, right? You have his rookie deal.
Yeah.
The 50, and then you have some franchise tags. Like,
right. They don't have to do anything right now. And they can pay Brandon Aiyuk less than even their current offer for 2 more years if they want to play hardball. That's the leverage the 49ers have. But the question about, well, why not trade Brandon Aiyuk if you don't want to utilize him that way? If you truly don't want to utilize Brandon Aiyuk like a number one receiver, then why are you trying to hold on to him anyway? I want to get to the bottom of that next, and also tell you why I think we're actually closer to a deal getting done than further away after the trade request. Next. This episode of Locked On 49ers is sponsored by LinkedIn Jobs. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. And LinkedIn isn't just some regular old job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job, but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnfl to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right. So when we make a statement, and Croc, you brought this up a little while ago, and you're like, the 49ers don't value Brandon Aiyuk enough because of, whatever.
My brother said this.
Right.
My brother, known big diehard Dallas Cowboy fan.
Yeah.
And he said when he watches the 49ers, which he always watches the Niners to hate on us. And I do the same with the Cowboys, and I end up kind of liking a few of their players. But he does like Brandon Aiyuk. But when he watches the 49ers and he watches Aiyuk's utilization in the offense, his response was, hey, the 49ers don't value Aiyuk in their offense the same way that we value CeeDee Lamb in our offense. And he said that was well before the season was even over. He made that observation.
Facts.
If the 49ers don't value Brandon Aiyuk, then why is he currently on the 49ers and not already traded? Because that's a huge trade chip to make your team better. If you don't value this guy, you're like, oh, he's our fourth weapon. I got to pay him $30 million. Are you crazy? How is he on the roster? And why are the 49ers telling teams, nope, we ain't trading him? Why is
because
he not
they do value him.
Already? They do.
They do value him. They value him at the amount that they want to value him at.
Yeah.
They don't value him more than that.
Yeah.
So they recognize that Brandon Aiyuk is a hell of a football player. They understand everything that he brings that's good. I think they identify him on the field as someone that exemplifies what a 49er is to them. Tough, hardworking, selfless. And when I say selfless, I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about what he's done on the field and what he's been to them, and not demanding them throw him the ball a ton and all this. We've seen some players be upset. They're winning, and it's still like, why didn't you throw me the damn ball? Like, I need more, and they're upset on the sideline. That has never been Aiyuk, even in the game where he only gets 3 targets, right? So they value him from that standpoint. Everything he, like when he's in the building, he's on the field, the way he practices, going at Fred Warner, because he didn't like the way Fred Warner hit one of his teammates, right? Like everything that he brings, this toughness, this mentality, they love that. But when it comes to doing the things to say, this is why we should pay him this amount, right? Like the extra, it's like, well, no, that's not how we do our offense. Like, and it's just not. It goes through CMC. We throw the ball. I saw somebody say it's like half a target more per game than Christian McCaffrey, who's your running back. You know what I'm saying? Like, so they're just not using. If any of you guys that play some of those daily fantasy things, you got underdog fantasy, you got prize picks, you got all those things. When you look at the targets, like you can do the over under on targets. If you go to CeeDee Lamb and some of these guys, it's like 11 targets, 12 targets. With Brandon Aiyuk is like 6.5, right? Yeah. So they're just not. They're not. I don't even want to use the word forcing, but he's just not a big enough a part of their offense for them to justify paying him like the guys that are getting 12 targets, and they're not going to value him at that because they don't plan on using him like that.
Well, Wink, let me ask you this. Then isn't there a trade package that would provide more value than Brandon Aiyuk, if that's the case?
Yeah, I think there is. And I think that if the 49ers get the right offer, I think they would trade him, right? I mean, if it's
Schefter just said they're not listening. They're like,
and yeah, that's what you say out loud.
Haven't been listening.
Yeah, doesn't mean you're not going to be listening in 2 weeks, right? I mean, let's also not forget what Debo signed August 1st. Kittle signed August 14th. Bosa didn't sign till September 8th. Like, there's still a lot of time. This is the next negotiating tactic. That's where we're at right now. And if in 2 weeks he hasn't shown up to camp and the 49ers get a call and it's like, you're seeing all kinds of wild ones out there. If they get the right call, I definitely think they'd pull the trigger on that.
So that brings me to my final point here. And this is why I think this signals that this deal is actually closer to getting done, not further away, because this is the last gasp from agent and Brandon Aiyuk's negotiating side before training camp starts and those fines come and before they want to get a deal done. And this is the last little bit of negotiation. This is the one thing that we know it's in the handbook. We predicted it from the very first day that there's going to be a trade request in here somewhere, and it's part of the negotiating ploy. They're pulling that lever right now, which is much later in the process than I thought they were going to pull that lever. But I think it's just the last bit of conversation, the last thing they can try to pull, see if we can get more money. Let's see if we can do this, because they're at the end of their negotiation and a deal is about to get signed and they're trying to get a little closer to the finish line. That's why I think this is a negotiating ploy, and it's the last one from Brandon Aiyuk's side before camp to get a deal done. So I predict he's actually going to get signed in the next, let's say, 10 days within the first week of training.
Okay.
Earlier I said that I was on Brandon Aiyuk's side. When I say that, I just want to clarify. I'm on his side in the sense of understanding his frustration because of the situation. But
that's what I always say.
I don't care. Like if Brandon Aiyuk, and this is, I don't know if this is different than other people. I would love to see Brandon Aiyuk continue to play in the 49er uniform. If he gets traded tomorrow, I really do not care. Like I don't have any like emotional attachment to these players. I just understand the business side of things, whether it was my own personal experiences and seeing it firsthand, or seeing how the 49ers have worked and done business. Like it's just business, and it's business for both of these guys. I think that if Aiyuk were traded tomorrow, the 49ers would still have one of the most efficient offenses in the NFL. So like, all right,
Agreed.
But if you have them, I do feel like you are better. But how much better? You know, so I don't care if he's traded or not. But obviously, I would love to see him continue to play in the 49er uniform.
Well, I'm sure there's some Brandon Aiyuk fans out there, right, that are just Brandon Aiyuk fans. But the vast majority of the people listening to this podcast, the vast majority of people that show up to football games, that watch the 49ers play on television, are there to watch the 49ers, period. Whoever that may be.
The negotiation tactics, and I think that's the part that sours some people. I don't care about any of that. I just understand it's just a part of the business. It was a part of the business when the 49ers leaked some of the numbers out, and he's like, how do these people know the exact numbers? There's a part of the tactics when Brandon Aiyuk goes on the pivot to kind of plead his side of things. It's a part of it when he requests a trade. So 100%. It's like, I don't care about anything that he's done. There's been people like, man, he's acting like a baby. Trade this fool. It's just business, and he's just trying to do whatever he feels is best for him. Like if he signs a contract tomorrow, I won't be like, well, he did all that stuff and now he's like, no, it's just part of whatever. And whatever he would get if he signed tomorrow, clearly he would be happier with whatever he signed. So maybe it worked or whatever, but I don't care. Like he's either going to be in the 90 uniform or he's not. And I still will watch him if he goes elsewhere. If he goes to Pittsburgh Steelers, and then it's like, all right, he's at Pittsburgh, I'm still going to watch him and see how he does because I'm a fan of football. But I think people take some of this stuff a little too personal. They're really upset with him on social media. Like they are mad. Like when I saw that and I read some of the comments under some of the posts, fans are upset with him. And it's like, how can you try to do
over it? Yeah.
Go home and tell your wife you want to see other people, see how she reacts, right? This is people. Like this is their team. You say you don't want to be on my team, you know, the people get mad by that. And that's why I keep saying it, and I always come back to it. Don't hate the player, hate the game.
But your wife is to death do you part. You know what I'm saying? Like with
and that's what I'm saying.
It's just as long as you're in a uniform, like
fans and their teams are death to their part. Players come and go.
I'm with you on that.
49ers fans. There's going to be a whole different 53 in 20 years. And guess what? That 49ers fan's still going to be a 49ers fan.
Are they going to be upset if he signs tomorrow? Are they going to be happy or not?
They'll be happy, of course.
They'll forget real quick.
Be on their team.
Like they did with Deebo Samuel. And there's a lot of people saying the same stuff about Deebo when he was requesting a trade.
If let's say he gets traded tomorrow and midway through the season, it's like Ricky Pearsall is just balling. Would they care that Aiyuk got traded?
They would say they did the right thing, right? They would love it.
Okay, see, so everybody did what's best for them. So
it's all about the team.
Yeah, the 49ers don't feel the need to up the offer. That's their stance. Don't hate the player, hate the game. Brandon Aiyuk wants more money. Don't hate the player, hate the game. This is how the dance goes. We haven't even started camp. Now, start to get worried if we're in September and Brandon Aiyuk has not either been traded or signed, then we might be in a little bit of an awkward spot. But right now, look, this is the time of the year. Warner wasn't signed yet. Kittle wasn't signed yet. Bosa wasn't signed yet. Deebo wasn't signed yet. Brandon Aiyuk not signed yet. I think he will be.
Hopefully are getting really good reports, and I know we'll be there at some practices, but hopefully get reports on how the rookie looks.
Yeah, mm-hmm. and again, that's kind of like losing leverage if you're Brandon Aiyuk. If after a week of training camp, every single beat writer is like, wow, slick Rick Pearsall looks legit.
He is
right?
it.
And all of a sudden, the agent's like, oh no, okay, let's get it. Let's drop $1 more million on our offer and send that paper across. Maybe let's get this deal done, right? Because the longer it goes, and again, the 49ers own the leverage right now, and they don't have to budge if they don't want to, as much as it might upset Brandon Aiyuk's side. And I think they want to get a deal done, or else they would have traded him already. So I think they value him plenty. Brandon Aiyuk might disagree by the numbers, but again, like, how far are they off? If Brandon Aiyuk's saying 30 and the Niners are saying 26, this deal's getting done. They're going to figure that out. If Brandon Aiyuk's saying 33 and the Niners are saying 24, then maybe then we've got big problems. And those things, I don't know. The reports were that the Niners have offered 26 a year.
He said that the numbers that were out there were true.
But
that was essentially what he said.
A lot of money.
We don't know
detailed numbers.
Right? We don't know Aiyuk's number. We only know the Niners number. Correct?
It has been reported closer to 30 million, but I haven't heard him say that. The only thing that I know for sure is 26 was floating around, and then when he was on the pivot, he said he's seeing exact numbers thrown out, which means that it's coming from the team, and he was upset that those numbers are getting out there. So the only number we know for sure is 26, and then we know clearly, because of how he is being right now, that's not close to what he's wanted. And he also says some things too, and this is the part where you can put a little bit on the 49ers. He said he had whatever his initial number was lower when the offseason started. He was ready to get the deal done.
Yeah.
And this is the one that really you should be frustrated by if you're a 49ers fan. This deal should have been done at a number closer to what the 49ers are offering early in the offseason. And it was so obvious. This was something that we talked about. This is not hindsight. This deal should have been done a long time ago. It would have helped the 49ers to do it early. And we said it right here on these airwaves. And that's something that's like, 49ers, what are you doing?
Everybody was saying, hey, all these receivers are about to get signed. And there was some that we didn't even foresee happening, like the Nico Collins, Devontae Smith. We didn't know those signings were coming, but we're like, hey, this offseason, a bunch of these receivers are going to have to get paid. And you want to get him paid before those guys get paid, because it's only going to drive his number up. And what do you know? They waited. He had a number. He's like, hey, my number was lower. These guys get signed. Now I'm sliding somewhere different. It is what it is. And the 49ers, they didn't want to come close to whatever his initial number was. I think they're even further apart now. Or maybe 26 was them trying to compromise, but they're further away because they waited.
Yeah. And the 49ers, there's a possibility. It's like, look, guys, if it's the same number you had in January or February after the season, that number's wrong, because the market changed. So get with the times. You know what I mean? So that's part of it too. And I could see why Brandon Aiyuk would be frustrated from that standpoint too. And real quick, Wink, help me out with the math. I know we're going long, but we want to finish up this conversation. Help me out with the math here. So Brandon Aiyuk goes to another team. He wants more money, right? Okay, he gets a couple more $1 million per year. He's happy about that. But the team sucks. They don't win a lot. He gets 30 more targets per year, right? That's cool. Maybe he catches 100 balls. But what if the yards per catch and the efficiency goes down, which it almost assuredly will? And so now it's like, okay, well, last year on the 49ers, he had 13 yards per catch. Well, 100 catches, 13 yards per catch. I'm not too good at math, Wink. It's around 1,300 yards, which is what he had this year with all those extra targets.
I don't think he cares about that part, though. I think the part that he's tripping on is that they're using his previous stats. And again,
against him,
you should use him. You should use them against him in negotiations. But that's his big issue, where I haven't been tripping on not having as much targets or whatever my production is, but I do feel like I'm capable and worthy of this, and y'all are using this stuff against me. I talked about it. I said this past year, he actually had less targets than he had the year before. In the year before, he barely broke 1,000. So like that could happen again. Even if 10 more targets, it doesn't mean he's going to have 1,500 yards now. He barely had 1,000 the year before.
It all comes down to quarterback, right? I mean, this past season was a full season of Brock Purdy. It was not a full season of Brock Purdy before. right? And that has a lot to do with it. You watch the receiver, right? You see the show receiver. You see Devontae Adams almost getting himself killed out there with Jimmy G. Like, good luck if you go somewhere else and you don't have an accurate passer. Yeah, you might get more targets, you might get more money, but your career might get cut short. I mean, you're playing in a great offense right now.
Or you could be Stephon Diggs going to Buffalo Bills.
And
you could be AJ Brown going to Philadelphia.
So it happens.
Again, you kind of, I think just based on the situation, you kind of got to take that risk. And it's worked out for some guys, did not work out for others, or it hasn't been working out. So.
Yeah. Listen to your heart, Brandon Aiyuk.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I think in his heart, he hears cha-ching.
I think if you live life like a Brian Adams song, you're going to be doing all right, Brandon Aiyuk. We got to get out of here. Thanks, everybody, for making us your first listen. Brandon Aiyuk not getting traded. Deal's going to get done. Clip that. We'll play it back for you when it happens within the next, 10 to 14 days here. Brandon Aiyuk's going to stay with the San Francisco 49ers. Wink, always a pleasure chatting with you. We're going to get some trade offers, Croc. Later this week, we've got hosts around the network that are circling like sharks, trying to give us trade offers, what we think we would take if the 49ers were willing to trade Brandon Aiyuk. So we are going to collect some of those trade offers and do a podcast about it right here on Locked On 49ers.
See ya.
Hit the water anytime you want on your new electric party boats.